You want to hear the wildest thing that ever happened on my block? Picture this. I'm sitting out on my front porch, coffee just right, sun shining, not a care in the world, until I see flashing lights. And my 72-year-old self is suddenly smack in the middle of a soap opera, starring my son as the supposed car thief and my neighbor Karen as the self-appointed law. I know how it sounds, but stick with me. You couldn't make this up if you tried. So here's the scene. June morning, nothing but birdsong and the whir of my ancient ceiling fan. I've lived here 45 years, watched my kids grow up, watched the neighborhood change, and honestly, I figured I'd die right here watching the grass brown in late August. That day, I hear this low, thunderous rumble coming down the street. I know my engines, and that is not the garbage truck. Nope, that's my boy Mark, pulling up in his black Lamborghini. He steps out grinning, looking like he owns half of Wall Street, and I swear, for a second, I'm just proud. You know? The kind of pride that makes your chest ache a little. But then, before I can even wave, here comes Karen, our HOA president, storming across her lawn with that. Look, you know the one. Like she's about to call the CDC because someone left a hose in the wrong direction. She points at Mark and screeches, "That's my car. He stole my car." I'm so stunned I almost choke on my coffee. Karen, the queen of yard sale Buicks, is now the alleged owner of a supercar? Yeah, that happened. She whips out her phone and calls 911 right there on my lawn, acting like she's the hero in some Lifetime movie. Within minutes, here come the sirens, the cop car, the neighbors peeking out like groundhogs after winter. Mark tries to stay calm, pulls out his registration, insurance, everything. The officer's all business, checks every document, inspects the VIN, even squints at the license plate like maybe he'll catch it lying. And Karen? She waves around a wrinkled sheet that's supposed to be a bill of sale, but looks like she printed it off Google Images between episodes of Judge Judy. I'm watching this play out, my stomach in knots, knowing full well the only crime here is Karen's imagination. The officer finally shakes his head, says everything checks out, and here's the kicker, tells Karen her document isn't even real. You'd think that'd end it, but no. Karen doubles down, starts throwing around words like forgery and professional criminal. My neighbors are eating it up, some snapping photos. Others pretending to water the same patch of grass for 20 minutes just to watch. And that's when it clicks for me. This isn't about the car. It's about power. I remember all those weird violation letters she sent over the years. The blurry HOA logos, the threats for leaving a garbage can out, the fines for a single shingle the wrong color. Karen rules this place with a fistful of fake paperwork, and most folks just go along to avoid the headache. Not today, though. Let me back up a sec. My son Mark, he's not just some flashy suit. The guy's got receipts for everything, literally. Dashcam footage, GPS data from the car, texts confirming his visit. We start compiling it all, turning my dining room table into a command center. That's when my neighbor David, retired engineer, logical to a fault, steps in. He breaks down Karen's story with physics and common sense. You can't just steal a Lamborghini. You need the fob. There'd be an alarm, a tow truck, something. He agrees to write a statement. It's the first real breath I've taken all day. But Karen's not done. Next day, she's on her campaign trail, whispering poison into every ear on the block. She files a formal complaint with the HOA, now accusing my son of threatening her and demanding the car be removed from the community. She even includes a grainy nighttime photo of a mysterious car. Might as well be Bigfoot. I get the official hearing notice. 1 week. It's war. I spend the next few days building a binder thicker than a family Bible, dashcam stills, GPS maps, every HOA notice she ever sent, and David's expert summary. Even managed to get a call from Sarah, one of the newer board members. She's nervous, tells me quietly, bring every piece of evidence you have. The board needs to see the real documents. That call. It's the first crack in Karen's armor. She retaliates fast, slaps me with 2 more fines, one for commercial vehicle parking, one for a rose bush branch. You know what I mean? It's petty, it's desperate, but it goes straight in the binder. I start sharing the truth, quietly, handing neighbors a copy of David's summary and the GPS map. Some folks listen, some are scared, but I can feel the tide shift. Then, twist time. Karen calls the cops again, claims I threatened her in my own driveway. The officer, same guy as before, looks tired of the circus. David calmly vouches for me, and the claim fizzles. But now it's clear, Karen's not just after the car. She wants me gone. The next morning, I find a fake restraining order in my mailbox, complete with a bogus court seal, warning everyone to avoid the belligerent party. My son is ready to call a lawyer. I'm ready to call her bluff. I head to the county records office and pull the real HOA bylaws. Simple, basic rules about roads and parks. Nothing about the stuff Karen's enforcing. Her power? Built on forgeries. It's a house of cards, and I'm done letting her play dealer. Hearing night arrives, room packed with neighbors and the full HOA board. Karen presiding like she's Queen of England. She spins her story, waves her evidence, and for a moment, I feel the room slipping. But when it's my turn, I open the binder and walk everyone through. Timestamped dashcam shots, GPS logs, official bylaws from the county, David's testimony. I lay her fake violation letters next to the real documents. The room goes quiet as folks realize how deep the deception runs. And then, out of nowhere, Sarah stands up. I have a recording, she says. Karen's voice fills the room, caught admitting she just wanted to make it look official. You could hear a pin drop. Even the cop at the back looks stunned. The evidence is right there, undeniable. Karen's face drains of color. The officer steps up and quietly escorts her out. No drama, no shouting, just the end of her act. The room breaks into relieved chatter. The board cancels every fine, every bogus violation. They issue a neighborhood-wide apology, send out real bylaws, and start refunding folks for years of Karen's nonsense. Mark comes around more often now. Parks that Lamborghini out front. No drama, just the sound of kids laughing and neighbors finally talking again. We sit on the porch like we used to, coffee in hand. Sun warming our faces. A few weeks later, a moving truck hauls away the last traces of Karen's reign. The young family moving in waves, and the neighborhood feels new again, lighter, freer. I keep the binder on my shelf as a reminder. Facts are facts, and bullies only win if you let them. The truth, when you stand your ground and show your receipts, wins every time. But here's the thing. Even after all that, there's always going to be someone out there willing to bend the rules, push their luck, see what they can get away with. So let me ask you, where's the line between standing up for yourself and letting things slide for the sake of peace? I'm curious where you stand. Drop your thoughts below. Tell me, was I right to fight, or should I have just let it go? Hit like, share your own neighbor stories, and let's talk about what community really means. That you'd think that after all that drama, after Karen got hauled out of that meeting room and the neighborhood started breathing easy again, life would settle right back to normal. Porch coffee, quiet mornings, Mark's car shining in the driveway like nothing ever happened. And for a while it did. Folks waved a little more. The board sent around those apology letters. Refunds came in the mail. And every time I passed by the community bulletin board, someone had tacked up a thank you note or a goofy cartoon about HOA bullies getting what they deserved. People like closure, you know? It makes everyone feel like justice finally caught up with the story. But here's the truth about a neighborhood. Nothing stays quiet forever. There's always some new rumble beneath the surface. Even if it starts with something as innocent as a lost dog or a trash can rolled a little too far onto the sidewalk. About 3 weeks after the hearing, just when the dust had settled, I got a knock on my door. Not a frantic pounding, but the kind you recognize, someone with a purpose, maybe a little nervous. It was Sarah, the young board member, the same one who'd played that recording and turned the whole thing upside down. She looked different, tired, sharper, like someone who'd grown up 10 years in a month. She didn't waste time on small talk. She held out a manila envelope. "You need to see this," she said, and her voice was shaky in a way that got my attention right away. Inside were copies, pages and pages of emails, receipts, odd bank statements. Turns out, Karen hadn't just been running her little fiefdom with fake fines and homemade bylaws. She'd been skimming off the top, collecting emergency fees from homeowners, quietly cashing the checks through an account nobody else knew about. Sarah and a couple of the other board members had only started digging when the whole car theft mess forced them to look at every file, every signature. What started as neighborly curiosity had turned into a real investigation. "There's thousands missing," Sarah said. almost whispering, like the words themselves were dangerous. "We think it goes back at least 5 years." Now, I'm not some crusader, but nothing fires me up quite like seeing folks taken advantage of, especially by someone everyone trusted. The new board debated what to do: call the cops, hire a lawyer, try to quietly refund the money, and sweep it under the rug. I listened to them argue for an hour at a hastily called meeting in David's garage. Some folks were scared, some were furious. The younger families wanted action. The old-timers just wanted peace. But the line had already been crossed, and trying to pretend otherwise felt like letting Karen win all over again. It wasn't about revenge. It was about finally cleaning house, about making sure nobody ever tried to pull a stunt like this again. So we did it by the book. Sarah and David drafted a letter, plain English, laying out what the board had discovered. No drama, no blame, just the facts. They mailed it to every house. And the next weekend, the whole neighborhood packed into the rec center. People stood in the aisles, holding the letter, some shaking their heads, some muttering under their breath. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just my fight anymore. It belonged to all of us now. The police were already investigating, quietly this time. A detective came by my place, asked for copies of everything I'd kept: the binder, the old fines, even the fake restraining order. He was younger than my son, sharp-eyed, respectful. "You kept all this?" he asked, eyebrows up. I just shrugged. Seemed like somebody should. He grinned at that. "If every neighborhood had one of you, my job would be a whole lot easier." It wasn't long before the story hit the local news. I turned on the TV one night, and there it was. My block, my porch, a blurry shot of Mark's Lamborghini, and a reporter talking about HOA fraud. For a day or two, it was the talk of the town. I even had a distant cousin call me up from 3 states away. "Did you really take down the HOA queen?" she asked, half joking, half in awe. "Yeah, that happened. But let me tell you, fame's got a half-life of about a week." After the first round of interviews and a little flurry of curiosity, life faded back to routine. The new board got serious about transparency, open meetings, posted budgets, every decision out in the open. Sarah, who never wanted to be a leader, ended up president by default. She took to it better than anyone expected, steady, honest, tough when she had to be. Still, not everyone was happy. There were grumbles from the folks who'd quietly benefited from Karen's reign. Little favors, wink-wink deals on landscaping or pool hours. There was even a rumor that someone was trying to start a shadow HOA. A bunch of old guard who still thought rules were meant to be bent. But after what happened, most folks weren't buying it. The biggest surprise came one Saturday when David and I were fixing my porch rail. Mark pulled up, yeah, in the Lumbo, because apparently some lessons don't stick, and hopped out grinning. But he wasn't alone. Out stepped a teenager, maybe 16, wearing a faded band tee and looking nervous as a stray cat. "This is Sam," Mark said, Karen's grandson. Turns out, the kid had reached out to Mark through social media after seeing the news, wanted to apologize for his grandmother, wanted to know if we needed help fixing up anything she'd left behind. Sam had grown up believing all sorts of stories about his grandma, but seeing the truth laid bare had rattled him. We let him pitch in, painting the fence, clearing brush, listening as David lectured about power tools and doing things the right way. It was awkward, sure, but it was also real. People can change, even if it takes having your whole world turned upside down. So, things moved forward. The old fears faded. The new board set up a neighborhood cookout, first one in years. Folks showed up with casseroles, lawn chairs, coolers, even those who'd once sided with Karen. There was laughter, some awkward apologies, and, yeah, the topic came up more than once. What do you do when the person with the loudest voice turns out to be the one you should have feared the most? That's the thing about communities. Sometimes, you don't get to pick your battles. They find you. But you do get to pick what kind of neighbor you want to be. And now, every so often, I'll catch Mark and Sam swapping stories over a soda on the porch, or I'll hear Sarah on the phone, dealing with some new little fire that needs putting out. The Lamborghini? It's still there most weekends. Nobody calls the cops anymore. Sometimes, late at night, I'll sit out with a cup of coffee, listening to the crickets, grateful for the peace, but also for the storm that finally brought us all together. So tell me, if it was your street, would you have kept fighting? Or would you have walked away after that first victory? Where's the line between standing up for what's right and just wanting to keep the peace? Leave a comment, share your story, hit like if you've ever tangled with a Karen or two in your own life. And if you're lucky enough to have good neighbors, go out and thank them. You never know when you'll need someone to watch your back.